Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share one of my favorite workshops that I ever lead, the Fertility Diet Workshop. This is a workshop that I love teaching because it teaches you not just what to eat, but also how to eat it to improve your egg quality, to boost your progesterone function, to lower elevated estrogen, to improve your chances with IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, because at the foundation of good fertility is your diet. And in this workshop, you are going to learn how to sync up the knowing what to do, but also understanding how to do it. Knowing that you need to work on your egg quality, how you do it. Knowing that you need to improve your progesterone levels and the how of doing it. Because if I know one thing through my experience, it's that diet makes one of the biggest differences to your reproductive health. So I hope that you enjoy this workshop. I hope that you take a lot from it. Get your pen, get your pad together, because the Fertility Diet Workshop is going to blow your mind. Hello, and welcome to the Fertility Diet Workshop. This is one of my favorite things to teach because it has such an impact on, so many different outcomes. Whether you are trying to freeze your eggs, whether you are trying to do embryos, whether you're doing IVF, IUI, or just trying to conceive at home naturally, everything that you're going to learn in this workshop is going to help support your efforts in that area. It's going to make sure that your body is ready to do that, regardless of what that is, but hopefully do it to its best. So we're going to talk about healthy fats, blood sugar balance, gut health. We're also going to talk about liver health, inflammation, and processed foods, and my distaste for them will be felt throughout. I'll just be honest with you. If you are a lover of processed food, you're not going to like what I have to say. Okay, so the role of diet in fertility. Nutrition is like directly impacts everything that has to do with getting pregnant, staying pregnant, postpartum, just hormone balance in general. And by extension of all of the things that you do that diet helps, egg quality improves. But often, either because you are eating a lot of processed foods and therefore you are not taking in a lot of nutrients, or because maybe you have some gut things going on. But regardless, when you have poor assimilation of nutrients in your body, this is going to affect your fertility baseline. Because if there is not enough calories, fats, nutrients to go around, fertility is shut off. Fertility is a luxury function in the body. You'll probably hear me say this a lot in this workshop. And when the body is just trying to balance blood sugar, cortisol, manage itself with inflammation, it puts fertility like on the back, not even on the back burner, like it's off the burner. It's like on the counter waiting for space. But that being said, a fertility focused diet approach that supports you, meaning your hormone production, your eggs, your immune system, your gut health, your just everything supporting you. Because when your body is well funded from a nutrient perspective, fertility can then be prioritized by the body. And that's really what a point that you want to get to, where your body feels safe enough to get pregnant. There's enough nutrients there to support whatever is maybe going on, to give your body what it needs for that, but also to be able to prioritize good just reproductive function. Because I feel like when people use the word fertility, we kind of narrow it down to just trying to have a baby, trying to have children. But it's a little bit more than that. In my head, it's like hormone function, how your body cycles through blood sugar and therefore how it impacts your hormones, and not just your estrogen and progesterone. Insulin, cortisol, those are hormones as well. And when one hormone starts to be out of balance, it kind of throws everything out of whack. But inflammation is the barrier. It is like the thing that if you have a lot of inflammation, a lot of things that you do will not land as effectively because your body is just like on defense. Now, chronic inflammation is where we run into issues. Acute inflammation is like fine. That's just, you cut your hand and your body responds in kind to help you heal. But it's the chronic inflammation that we are concerned with. This is where we start to get in the hormone disrupting, oxidative damage to your cells, aka eggs, stuff is when the inflammation is chronic. And this can be caused by diet. It's often caused by lifestyle factors. And these are things like even something as simple as not knowing how to eat. You could be eating what you think is all the most amazing ingredients, but if you don't know how to eat them and that is causing you issues, well, I mean, that's just like you not knowing. But a diet that prioritizes reducing inflammation kind of like across the board is one that will help with hormone balance. And then by extension of that, your reproductive health. Um, the thing is everything that we talk about and that we're going to talk about, from blood sugar to your gut to your liver, all of those things being out of balance is what causes inflammation in the body. So if you can do the things to balance your blood sugar, your gut, your liver, make sure those areas are well tended to, then that's kind of where a diet that reduces inflammation kind of comes from. It's where it's born. But we got to get real about processed foods because a lot of people eat a lot of processed foods. And I get it. We kind of live in a time, and I get sucked into the rabbit hole too, where I'm watching like calorie deficit videos on TikTok. Like I've been there. It's 11 p.m. and I'm just like having a scroll. That being said, I think that we need to return to just eating foods that are, whole foods, because those foods that are processed are often high in sugar, refined grains, and healthy fats. And the thing about processed foods that I think is like where sometimes we don't connect the dots is that when you are eating a lot of processed foods that are low in essential nutrients, you are not eating foods that are high in like good quality fats and proteins and carbohydrates. So it's not just about what you're putting in is bad, it's what you're depriving your body of as well. It's like twofold. And the thing is we, especially if you are like a child of the 90s, the early aughts, the early 2000s, like we grew up in a time where low fat, low calorie, eating the least amount of calories, feeling hungry, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, like all of that. We grew up like that. We grew up hearing those things. And so sometimes we think that it's healthy to do that. But it's also now into the where there's health food that is like, or food that is wearing like a health food costume, like something like a protein chip, something like oat milk, um, something that is just like not real, but it sounds like it's a good idea. And it's not. Food as close to its natural source and natural state as possible is like how you want to eat. Because processed foods, they increase inflammation, um, insulin resistance, especially because a lot of those low fat, low calorie foods tend to be very high in sugar. And this, and then also the binders, the carrageenans, the guar gums, the xanthan gums, the all the things that disrupt people's gut considerably. And all of that will hinder your fertility. Because if your body is not able to digest because your gut is disrupted, that is just bad, bad, bad. Now, the solution is prioritizing a whole, minimally processed diet. Like, that's like what we're going for. But 80% of the time, 80% of the time, if you do the things that we talk about today, you will have not just amazing fertility, but you will just feel good. This way of life, I like to say, is how you feel good. Because how you heal, how you get to where you want to go, like how you get pregnant, and how all of the things we talk about now to get you pregnant, to then or get you the best eggs you want or the best embryos. All of the things that we're talking about, you also have to do in pregnancy. You also want to do it in postpartum. And so it ultimately is a lifestyle. But when you regard it as 80%, 20%, then I mean, that's easy to swallow, in my opinion, because it means you still get to have nights out and enjoy your life, because pausing your life for anything, I just don't believe in that. But if 80% of the time you're really being mindful, and I like to call all of this stuff very just like true self-care, if you're mindful of all of these things, then the needle will move in your favor. But minimally processed foods, fertility supportive diet that's balanced is what we're going to talk about and what I suggest you do for 80% of the time. So the fertility diet breakdown, here's the thing. A lot of people, and I hear this so much when I'm doing one-on-one sessions, are like, immediately they'll say, I'm eating a lot of protein. It's like, well, that's beautiful. I love that. However, comma, the fertility diet, actually the main macro, the primary macro is fat. And then it's protein. So 45% fat, 35% protein, 25% grains. Now, the thing about certain proteins is that they come with fat. So if you eat steak, there's likely some fat in that steak. If you eat lamb, pork even can have some fat in it. You will also be getting fat with your protein. It's kind of like doubling up. But there's also things like nuts, seeds, avocados, fish, things of that nature, where you're going to get both, where you're either going to get one or the other. But here's the thing that I like to say is that when we are looking at these percentages, I want it to come mostly from like whole foods, because we don't want that 35% to be like a protein powder that might have things that could disrupt your gut. We don't want that carbohydrate to come from like not the best source. We want to make the most of these percentages that we're taking in. Now we're going to talk about these in more on their own, but I want to say that I am a lover of fat. I've seen it do amazing things in people's bodies. That being said, there are a lot of people that we are doing fat wrong, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because in this world, especially in North America, there's definitely a high priority in items where it's a seed oil. So grapeseed, canola, corn, sunflower, safflower. They're affordable, they're shelf stable. So I understand why they're used. Don't get me wrong. But fats are the building blocks of our hormones. And when you're thinking about your cells and cellular health, every cell in our body, including our eggs, is covered by a thin layer of fat called the myelin sheath. That is made of fat. We need it even for like from the basic of just protecting the egg. And also fats help with nutrient absorption. And when we are not focused on ancestral fats like butter, ghee, tallow, lard, and eliminating the seed oils, like canola, grapeseed, corn, sunflower, safflower, the ones I mentioned, um, what happens is we are depriving our body of the building blocks of not just hormones, but like making our hormones, balancing our hormones, but taking in the nutrients needed to have good liver detox and also just like amazing gut health. But here's the thing about the hormone support that you get from fat is that when people come to me and they say, well, I have low progesterone or I have low estrogen or high estrogen, and it's like, okay, well, we have an imbalance. Before we bring in any other interventions, and I love that we have the ability to bring in other interventions, first, let's start eating more high quality fats and see what happens. Because at the very least, if we do move into some assisted reproductive things, then our body is supported in its own hormones and hormone function, that when a lot of these sort of drugs and just control factors are brought in, our body is also being supported in the way it needs to be. I haven't used a seed oil in my kitchen in a very long time. But it for the better. That being said, I understand that they are in a lot of foods that are like convenient and processed, but that means that you have to develop a different relationship with some of these convenient processed foods. Now, I love a convenience product. I think that like a rotisserie chicken, love that as a convenience product. I love prepared, but like fresh prepared, like sauces and things like that. And if you go to places and you can ask, how was that made? If it was cooked in butter, if it was cooked in olive oil, it was cooked in something like that, get it. That's making your life easier. But we just want to make sure that we are giving our bodies every opportunity that we can, especially within that 80%. We are eating fats that our body can actually use to support hormone function, cellular health, aka egg quality, and also help our bodies take in the nutrients we need for like good fertility. So some fertility friendly fats. Omega 3 fatty acids are essential. They really just are. They reduce inflammation, they regulate hormones, they enhance cellular health, aka egg quality. Now, here's the thing. For women, omega 3s are going to balance your menstrual cycles, they're going to help with uterine lining, which is going to help with implantation. But there are two types of like omega 3 fatty acids. There's EPA and DHA. Now, I always say that when you are in your trying to conceive window, you should be taking, as a woman, a high EPA omega 3 fatty acid. The reason being is that is the fatty acid that helps with the body and its and the effects that are already there, or just sort of counteracting any effects of inflammation, stress, all of which is going to help bring up your fertility baseline. And in men, it can help with motility and quality of sperm. Now, once you are pregnant, and you will see on prenatals that the primary omega is likely DHA, because that is for like brain, um, you know, fetal brain and like eye development and all of that. So I like to say high EPA is for the mother, high DHA is for the baby. And you would switch, you would just make a change, get a different, like your prenatal. That being said, I also want you to eat some things that have some omega fatty acids in them. Because here's the thing about supplementation. I love supplementation. I will never not love it. It has done wonders for me, and I see it work in people's lives all the time. That said, if you are just relying on supplements, you are missing out, because when you eat something like a salmon, a fatty fish, you have flax seeds, chia seeds, or walnuts. What ends up happening is, yes, you are getting the omega fatty acid, but you're also getting fiber, vitamins, minerals, so much more. It's kind of like a compounding effect. It's beautiful. But with supplementation, you can get that like targeted EPA or DHA. And that's beautiful as well. And that's why we want to marry the two and have a diet that has these friendly fats throughout it. But we're also supplementing every day to make sure that we are filling any gaps, because prioritizing this can mean a healthy reproductive system, not just for you as the carrier of this baby or these eggs, but also the person that's contributing to this. It's also good for sperm quality. Now, saturated fats are great, and they were like so villainized. It's so unfortunate. Now, a diet just of saturated fats, well, I do think that a fully animal-based diet has a place, but I don't think that it's here. When we are talking about saturated fats, the reason that people talk about steak, eat a steak, once or twice a week. If you eat a steak 3 times a week, I am happy as Larry, because I know that you are getting a lot of high density and not just high density, but also easy to absorb fats that are going to support your fertility and help with hormone production. If we can get hormone production where it needs to be supported in the body and giving our body what it needs to make have good hormone function, then what happens is it's a trickle down effect. But these saturated fats, especially those found in a juicy, delicious steak, are necessary because they give you the cholesterol to like make estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. This is also valuable information when you are going through menopause, like knowing how to give your body what it needs when it is going through hormonal shifts of any kind is such a valuable thing. When you are postpartum, you are going to want to very much support your hormone function because it's swinging big time. But when you think about saturated fats, they're also helping with your eye quality because they strengthen the cell membrane because of the fats in it, that myelin sheath. So egg quality and sperm quality benefits from it. And also the absorptions of vitamins, vitamin A. Vitamin D is so important to fertility. If you live in a northern climate, you need to be supplementing with it. You need to be eating foods that help you absorb it better. Things with saturated fat are that. Now, this is essential for hormone balance, just is. Um, Grass-fed meats, butter, ghee, coconut oil, avocado has saturated fat in it. Don't be afraid of these fertility-friendly fats. Your body will love it. So we need to just remember that these healthy fats are going to reduce inflammation, provide stable energy, and support egg quality. And the reason that I want to really focus on we need to be, cooking more and eating more of these things is because then it crowds out the processed stuff. But look, full disclosure, you will get a lot of processed oils and things that are going to upset your gut, like dyes and fillers. All of that is going to be found in packaged food. So if you cook at home, you are going to avoid a lot of the stress and inflammation and just oxidization that you don't want when you are in this window. And some people will say, well, I was living my most unhealthy life when I got pregnant. It's like, well, good for you. Your pregnancy probably felt horrible. I hope not, but like, let's be real. How you go into pregnancy and how your pregnancy goes is dictated is whether your body has the energy to give. How your body finds the energy and also has the energy for life and doing all the things is through eating foods that give you that support. So fats, fall in love with fats. If you have a contentious relationship with fats, it makes you worried to think about eating them. Please don't. You will realize very quickly what's been missing in your life. So let's talk about blood sugar balance and fertility because that's so important. Metabolic health is total body. It will affect everything about what's going on with you, how you feel. Blood sugar balance and stable blood sugar helps balance insulin, which is crucial for hormone regulation. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm excited to say the next thing. Here's the thing. When we think about hormones for fertility, we're always thinking about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone in some cases. But no one's talking about insulin. Why are we not talking about cortisol? I mean, in some situations we are, but in a lot we are not. And here's the thing. When your insulin gets out of balance, then your cortisol responds negatively. When your cortisol responds negatively, that reaches down into your estrogen and your progesterone. And you can see that if at the top layer of blood sugar balance and stable metabolic functions that would stymie any other trickle down effect, you see the power that this has over you feeling good and also you having really good fertility. So again, poorly balanced blood sugar is going to throw off your estrogen and your progesterone. The connection is not made enough, but I just made it for you. So when you have a blood sugar spike, it will affect your hormones because blood sugar stability is crucial for maintaining hormone homeostasis. When your blood sugar is stable, cortisol is nice and released when it's supposed to be. Here's the thing about cortisol. It's not the villain that we think it is. Like people are like, you got high cortisol, and it's like cortisol is this like demon hormone. It's not. It helps wake us up in the morning. It helps us fall asleep at night. It's when it's out of whack that things go haywire. That being said, when your blood sugar remains stable, your cortisol release is also stable, minimized as it's supposed to be, which keeps your reproductive hormones like estrogen and progesterone stable and functioning at their best. People will come to me and say, I have a progesterone problem. It's like, well, no, you probably have like a stress problem, because that's like estrogen and progesterone need comfort and safety and not like stress and all of that to be at their best. They just do. And so again, this stability that you get from balanced blood sugar that like trickles down to minimizing the cortisol in your body is essential for healthy cycling. And also just overall reproductive vitality, like having a nice period. It's not super painful. It's not really long. It comes in like very regular. You can start to track it like that. When people are like, oh, I track my cycle. And it's like, okay, well, if there are problems with it, what are we doing about that? And it's like, we got to do these things, and then tracking becomes something that actually works quite effectively. Now, on the other hand, when you have a lot of blood sugar spikes, this is going to cause surges in your cortisol. It's going to have elevated cortisol in the body. And that will lead to inflammation. And so this is going to directly affect your fertility, ovulation. It's going to shorten your luteal phase. It's going to make, especially with elevated hormones or high estrogen, low progesterone, you'll notice you either have like a period that comes all the time or like a missing period. And that is going to affect your fertility. It affects how you are able to even try, because you're just like, well, when do we try? And we want to make sure that we're having nice, long, juicy luteal phases. We are having good ovulatory function, that our egg quality is where it needs to be, because then we do all of the things, and then we push back from the table and we let, magic take place, truly. But by managing your blood sugar, you are supporting a healthier environment that is like going to make this happen. I always say that. And however it happens, like I love IUI, I love IVF, I love all of the resources that we have available to us. But if we can make sure that we are giving ourselves the best opportunity within those spaces to have a success, it means doing this kind of work. They go hand in hand. So let's talk about some strategies. And yes, if you want a donut, you can have a donut, but moderation, right? But we want to talk about fertility focused meals. What do we want to see on the plate? We do want to see protein. The reason being is they have minimal effect on blood sugar, but also help slow digestion and the absorption of carbohydrates in the body. So protein has a very vital spot, because when protein is present, this is going to slow the release of glucose into the bloodstream, going to prevent spikes that will cause energy crashes, cravings, and just things that like also don't make you feel good. When you start to eat enough protein, but eating the dark meat, eating fatty meats means that you're also like getting fats in there. That is going to help you so much as far as like cravings and things like that. You just don't really get them. Now, we also want fiber. Here's the reason. Well, from a blood sugar perspective, fiber, especially that from vegetables, is going to delay gastric emptying and slow the breakdown of carbs into glucose. Now, on another hand, fiber is really important because it helps with the elimination of toxins. So all of the toxins that our liver breaks down, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I get excited when it comes to the liver. But when you don't have enough fiber in your diet, you are not allowing the waste products that we want to get rid of, extra blood sugar, extra hormones, toxins, whatever. We have to facilitate it coming out through our waste. So we have to be well hydrated, but we also have to have enough fiber so to facilitate that movement. Now, from a blood sugar perspective, when you delay gastric emptying, it's going to slow the release of glucose and therefore keep your blood sugar stable, and you'll have sustained energy. So having fat, non-starchy, so having non-starchy vegetables, I always say eat the vegetables first. If you don't know what to do that. And then having protein, if it's dark meat, if it was cooked in a juicy, delicious fat, beautiful. And then you can have some carbohydrates. But having protein, fiber, healthy fats present on your plate is giving your body everything that it needs from a blood sugar supportive space to just like have the best outcome as far as how you feel and what's happening with your blood sugar. Now, sources of protein that I love are things like eggs and salmon, because we're getting high quality protein, but we're also getting choline. We're also getting omega 3s. So there's more to it. And again, I know that a lot of people rely on things like protein powders and protein bars. And look, I get it. I got caught up a few times too in some like processed foods that were just like, felt like they were making my life easier and they were delicious. But after like a couple of weeks of eating them, like I noticed my stomach was not the same. I noticed I was breaking out when like I never do. And so I know that we can get protein and choline and omega 3s from supplemental places, but I also want them to be eaten. And things like chicken and grass-fed beef have B vitamins, iron, and zinc, which is key for ovulation. Now, I also recognize that we can get protein from other places. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese is incredibly high in protein per serving. It's actually like, it's amazing. And so, but with that, again, when you eat those foods, you're getting the protein, but you're also getting calcium and some probiotics for your health, your gut health. If you're a person that's like, ooh, I don't like cottage cheese, I used to be you. Now I just whip my cottage cheese, blend it up until it's smooth, and then I'll mix it with the Greek yogurt, and it's delightful. And that's a really lovely way to, again, support gut health and also get some extra protein. And also always full fat dairy. Always full fat dairy. You just want to make sure that you are getting the fat everywhere you can, because healthy fats are also in dairy products. If you can digest dairy, full fat dairy, go for it, please. Now, there are some plant-based proteins, but I want to add a caveat with these. So things like lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, they do have protein in them. That being said, I want you to treat, especially the quinoa and the chickpeas, I want you to treat those and lentils, depending on which ones you use, as carbohydrates. So yes, you are getting protein, but when you eat that thing, it is going to behave like a carbohydrate as far as your blood sugar is concerned. So I just want you to be careful. You can add to meals that have full fat dairy with protein, or something like eggs, salmon, beef, chicken, and adding a lentil or adding a chickpea or adding quinoa is the bonus I stand behind. But to eat a quinoa and think that that's the protein in a dish, we're not doing that on this diet. Okay. But they do have fiber. There's magnesium. There's healthy fats in some cases, like the nuts. And so those are also essential for your reproductive wellness. I just want you to be mindful of how they behave when you eat them. Because if we eat something incorrectly, meaning if we have a lentil, a chickpea, or quinoa, and we eat that without enough fat on the plate, without enough protein on the plate, and without maybe having had some non-starchy vegetables for fiber, what happens is then we have a blood sugar spike and probably a dip after reactive hypoglycemia. And so when we have that happen, our body has to go into stress mode, cortisol mode, and then our bodies aren't able to actually extract the protein and the fiber in a way that is meaningful, because we didn't eat it correctly. And so that's why I always just want to make sure that we clock that. We can get protein from these things, but let's remember they're not our primary protein sources. But the what I want you to embrace is diversity. A diverse source of protein is how you get nutrient density. Having eggs, having salmon, having chicken and beef, having nuts, having chickpeas and things, and also be mindful of how your stomach feels when you eat some of these like lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, even nuts. If you bloat, maybe you can't have them. But regardless of that, making sure that you are eating foods that are a wide variety and nutrient dense in and of themselves is how you create not just nutrient density, but nutrient diversity. So when it comes to fiber, and these are the ones that are going to, when I say eat the salad first, these are the ones I'm talking about. Leafy greens like spinach and kale. We got folate and iron. Now, here's what I also want to say is that when you are thinking about the fertility diet, just like on a whole, I want you to be thinking about warm food. When I get to the vegetable or fiber, this really could be called vegetable, but when I get to this point, I like to say to people, when I say leafy greens like spinach and kale, I want you to saute them in butter. I want you to maybe put them in bone broth and consume them that way. I want to make sure that the vegetables and broccoli are roasted down to they're delicious and sweet, but they're cooked down because we want to make sure that we give our bodies the easiest path to digesting the food that we're eating, because then it can keep that energy for reproductive health. But we still want to have these vegetables, but just cooked or in a soup or in a broth, we love. But things like broccoli, sprouts, and Brussels sprouts, they're great because they help to balance hormones. Bitter greens do, and cruciferous things do. Sweet potatoes, love a sweet potato. Beta carotene. And this is going to help with hormone production and things like bell peppers, tomatoes, brightly colored food, things like berries as well are going to have vitamin C, antioxidants, help to reduce inflammation. Asparagus, beets, support detoxification. You can smell it in asparagus when you have it. It's like the pea. It's there. And beet circulation. I always find it so interesting that nature is so perfect in the sense that because yeah, obviously, she is so perfect. Beets are red and it helps with the circulation of blood. Like, wow, it's all there. Okay, and then when we talk about fats, again, I've waxed poetic about fats, but I'm going to continue just a little bit more. Bear with me. But you want to think of animal-based sources: grass-fed butter, ghee, full-fat dairy. All of these are going to have the saturated fats that are going to like really help with hormone production. And again, if you're out at a restaurant, I don't want you to be that person that's like, you know, was it cooked in seed oil? Because if you are making 80% of the food you eat at home and prioritizing this, when you're out at dinner, do whatever you want. Enjoy yourself. Do not even care. But at home, prioritizing some of these types of fat is going to be really good for your hormone production. Coconut oil is another rich source. Provides quick energy. So a lot of athletes that are like hip to this kind of stuff, they will take like a huge spoonful of something like coconut oil before a sporting match, because it bypasses the liver and it's converted right into energy, coconut oil. So it's like really great for that. Nonetheless, like I said, wax poetic because I love a good fat. But fats are crucial for the absorption of key nutrients for fertility, like vitamin A, especially vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, all of which are necessary to have you looking like this with child with little seed. Now, you also want to avoid refined sugar. So limiting foods with added sugar is what I'm talking about. Now, if you are having an apple and it's sweet, that is not added sugar. If you are having berries and you are topping yogurt with maybe whipped cottage cheese and yogurt, and you are topping it with berries, something that I love to have, and it tastes sweet, that is not added sugar. We are talking about quick foods, sodas, candies, things that are going to cause a really big blood sugar spike because they're processed. They're going to trigger insulin, remember, ding-a-ling, that top level hormone that trickles down to cortisol and then trickles down to estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. And so this is important. It's like there's some obvious places like soda and candy and sweets, but there's also some fake foods that you wouldn't think of. Like again, zero fat foods, 0 calorie foods. That's where a lot of like processed sugar is hiding and people don't realize. And so when you make it a point to choose whole, minimally processed foods without added sugar, you're going to support good blood sugar balance. You're going to help with hormonal stress. So again, when your hormones are balanced, there is no stress as a result of hormonal imbalance. And this is going to affect your reproductive health again, because when you make sure that insulin is really well tended to and blood sugar, then cortisol is just by virtue of that well tended to, and then your sex hormones are well tended to. But eating a lot of added sugar foods, no bueno. So fiber is important because it really, like I said, it will delay gastric emptying, make glucose in your food or the sugar in your food hit your blood sugar slower, so your glucose responds slower and more naturally, which helps with your insulin and then your cortisol. But like I said before, I teased it. Fiber helps removing with the excess hormones because it removes any excess hormones through our waste. Fiber is what helps with the facilitation of that. And so and a lot of people will come to me and say, my progesterone is low. It's like, well, is your estrogen high? Because it could just be bullying your progesterone down. But when we are making sure to live and eat in a way that is not just helping with hormonal balance from the front of just fiber and moving it out, but we are also having more balance in all of the other areas. That's where the magic happens. So vegetables, whole grains. Look, I'm not against whole grains. I know there's a lot of people that are like, don't have whole grains. Like we love them when I love a rice, a wild rice. I love an oat when done correctly. But I prefer when we are talking about the fiber that we are taking in for fertility, that we're focusing on fruits like berries, where you eat the seeds, vegetables, non-starchy, because that's going to help with the steady energy that comes from that, like really good metabolic health. And then also by extension of that, support your reproductive wellness. So let's talk about the gut. A healthy gut microbiome is vital, honestly. If your gut is not able to digest and it is not taking in and absorbing nutrients effectively, you are missing out on the things you need. You just will not have a well-furnished fertility journey as far as nutrients and energy is concerned. Things like B vitamins, minerals, like proteins, how fats are taken in, it's not good. And also, having good gut bacteria and good balance of like good gut bacteria helps in metabolizing and balancing your estrogen. Again, hormone balance, which is going to help with your period, going to help with ovulation, going to help with so many different things. And that's the thing. Estrogen, it really is a baddie, but you have to keep her in check. Like you have to be like, well, no, girl, relax. And here's how you relax. So a healthy gut will help lower inflammation because if you are if your gut is not able, if you have an overgrowth of bacteria in the gut, that is going to potentially lead to a gut bacteria dysbiosis, which will have chronic inflammation. There's also gut lining things to think about. Do you have leaky gut? Do you have, a weakened gut lining from stress, from eating a lot of processed foods that like eats away at the healthy gut lining because it robs our body of the healthy fats required, but then also is full of ingredients that hurts our gut. And all of these things are going to cause chronic inflammation in the gut. Now, when we remove those things and we start to eat the foods that are supportive of gut health, the reduced inflammation is going to be crucial because otherwise these continued inflammatory things that are happening by virtue of like the food that you're eating is little by little having an effect. And it's going to be a cortisol effect. That like the cortisol effect is what happens first. The inflammation is what's left behind. But a balanced gut is the optimal environment for ovulation, egg quality. And here's the thing, there are a specific type of vagina bacteria that for like a healthy vagina, and it's the estroblome. And that is built and fostered in the gut. If you, and I'm going to say it was me, I had recurring yeast infections. I was itching my vagina in places I had no business itching it in public because I just had chronic yeast infections. Like I could not, I like it was one to the next. And then finally, I just like went to the doctor and got a really strong, antibiotic, and it actually made my life entirely worse. Nonetheless, when I healed my gut, I haven't had a yeast infection in years. And so, again, the gut and the vaginal and just like ovarian area, that whole area is really tended to from the inside, from like by virtue of what's happening in the gut. I say that from experience. So there's a lot to do about probiotics and prebiotics, and I'll say this. I said it with omega fats, and I'll say it again. We want to make sure that we are hitting it from both sides. Food source, but also supplement source. Because a supplement source is like getting right to the heart of the matter. It's getting right there. It's beautiful. Then when we eat the foods, like I said, we're getting more things, vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, all the things. And so nonetheless, I hope you're getting them from both places, but a probiotic is a live living bacteria. It's in foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented foods, kombucha, but you want to be careful about kombucha because a lot of them are very sweet. They're just like akin to pop at this point. You want to make sure they have like 4 grams of sugar or less, but you don't want them to have 0 grams of sugar because they might have like some sort of sweetener in them, which we don't want either. So it's like 2 to 4 grams of sugar. That's kind of the window. It's a small one, but there it is. But these bacteria help with the gut. They help with digestion, nutrient absorption, they help break food down, and all of this is also going to benefit your immune function. Someone who has a disrupted gut, like a gut that is not in a good state, is always sick. Always, 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 always. But when you start thinking about taking probiotics and also eating probiotics, it can really help with immune function as well. Here's one thing that I will give a caveat about. If you start eating probiotic foods, if you start taking a probiotic and you notice gas and bloating and things getting worse, then I want you to cease taking them because we actually might have a bacterial overgrowth already in place. And by adding more bacteria, bad news, beneficial or not. Instead, you would want to do a whole protocol. If that's you, reach out to me and we'll work on it. That being said, I digressed. A robust population of these good bacteria is going to help with your hormones because it will help with estrogen metabolism, help, balance your hormones. And all of this has an impact. When your hormones are balanced, estrogen, progesterone, all of them, insulin, cortisol, happy times in the body. Now, prebiotics are a type of fiber that's found in certain foods that the probiotics eat. It's like what they feed on. And so this is how they thrive. And so again, you can take a prebiotic, you can take an enzyme. I encourage that if you want to, but also make sure you are eating the foods because you're getting other things. Fun fact and story. There is a place called Vidalia where Vidalia onions grow. They have the lowest rate of gut cancers or like any type of digestive cancers because of all of the prebiotic fibers they eat because like everybody eats onion. So anyways, that was a digression that I just had to do with like the fun fact I had in my head. But you want to have diversity. the point of taking probiotics and feeding them really well with probiotics or prebiotics rather is that they are diverse, they're resilient. When they have taken studies of like people's poo, the healthiest people had a high volume of good gut bacteria, but they also had a high volume of like variety. Like it was a lot on both senses. And so that's what you can create with yourself, but you have to like supplement and also eat the foods. Okay, let's talk about the liver. I believe very strongly that when the liver is feeling its best and being mindfully tended to, things really start to improve in the body. The liver is crucial. It metabolizes hormones like estrogen, like I said. When the thing is like the gut is like the first place things go, and like the gut digests food, but the liver deals with everything else. Hormones, blood sugar, toxins, things we breathe in, things we rub on our skin with our body cream, all of that. The liver detoxifies the body by processing toxins. And like again, if they are accumulated, if the liver is not functioning properly and you are overloading it with things to do all the time, this is going to disrupt the reproductive process. You're going to feel tired. You're not going to feel your best. You just won't. A well-functioning liver supports balanced hormones, reduces your inflammation, and will help create a healthier environment for conception. And there will be people that will poo-poo me even saying that. They're like, oh, liver is a self-cleaning organ. Anything that you have in your home that is self-cleaning, you have to clean it in order for it to stay a little good. Like a garburator is meant to deal with garbage, but if you don't clean that out, it's disgusting. My grandparents have had one because they know how to take care of things for, I kid you not, longer than I have been alive. And they clean it once a month. You have to do that. You have to tend to it. So even though it is a self-cleaning organ, taking care of it allows it to function better. So I love a bitter food. I mean, for liver, you can often find me in my kitchen taking just a handful of arugula sprouts and sculling them. Because bitter foods like dandelion greens, arugula, grapefruit, they all help stimulate bile production, which will support your liver health. Because this is going to help you with digestion and also with the moving and removal of the toxins in your body. And like toxins can be from the fragrance. If you're like a Bath and Body Works person, if you are someone who like loves burning candles, you love body sprays, you love perfume, fragrance, all of that, toxins, unless you've been mindful to find something that is not. And the liver has to eliminate all of those. And so bitter foods help with that. Now, increased bile flow enhances the liver's detoxification process. And it allows it then to return to like doing the things it's supposed to do, removing waste more effectively, processing hormones, processing blood sugar. Now, yes, it is a naturally cleansing organ, but giving it foods that also are cleansing of it is never a bad idea. And again, the reason that I like to say, bitter greens, for instance, is great because you can make a salad with arugula, or you can do like me and torture yourself every day and have bitter arugula sprouts, which are far more bitter, just by the handful. Either way, they're going to reduce inflammation, promote better reproductive health, and also just like general health. Because if you have a healthy liver, you have a healthy body. Honestly, I'll die on that hill. Now, there are supplements that you can take for your liver, and you don't need to take like I understand, and that's why I have been saying over and over, you can have food source supplements because I understand that it can feel like supplement overload, medication overload, especially when you are in like a TTC journey. But if you are someone who if you're eating a lot of processed foods, I want you to sort of like really get that under control. But if you are someone that every now and again likes to have a drink, having something like milk this slow around is not a bad idea. Dandelion root stimulates bile production, helps with liver function, and So dandelion root, you can take it as a supplement, or you can get dandelion root tea and you can drink that, every day or a couple of times a week to also help facilitate things for your body. So when I say supplements, if you find it in a food version or a tea version or something, please do that as well. Like I said, milk thistle is great because milk thistle supports detoxification, but it also like helps like repair damaged liver cells, but also create healthier new ones. So that's like pretty magical of it. Then there's NAC. I love NAC, N-acetylcysteine. It is a powerful, very, very powerful antioxidant, and it helps replenish glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant. Um, which is essential for your liver detoxification. I take NAC. I love it. I have milk thistle around for like holiday season, birthday season, vacation, because I'm having beverages. I just am. Choline, which is also found in eggs, in the yolk, so there's that, supports fat metabolism and also prevents liver fat buildup, so like no fatty liver. Turmeric is great. And so what I'll say about turmeric as far as supplements are concerned is if you get turmeric and it is the whole root, it's just turmeric, it's ground up, it's put into pill form. You don't need to take it with black pepper, as some people say, because nature is perfect. But if you get curcumin, which is the extract, the active ingredient, you do need to make sure that that has black pepper in it because it needs the pepper to activate. So that being said, curcumin, turmeric, however you get it, very anti-inflammatory. And then artichoke extract can stimulate bile flow, protect liver cells. This all is going to promote detoxification. You can also eat artichokes. Now, if you have to eat a lot of artichokes, but look, when you're trying to, again, create diversity in your diet and make this livable, you find ways to get things in. And so if you're not going to take artichoke extract, but it's like if you see an artichoke and you're like, I can make one, go for it. But that's really where I like the way that I approach supplementation. It is meant to fill the gaps that are not being filled by like life and like living and doing all of the good things we're doing. Inflammation and egg quality. So chronic inflammation is linked to oxidative stress. And you know what that does? It messes with your egg quality bad. It damages your reproductive cells, which is your eggs, and reduces your fertility potential because if you don't have good egg quality, that is just going to cause you grief and issues. And because if you have high stress, high oxidative stress, it's compromising the cell structure, the DNA integrity, so like DNA issues, viability, and it just makes conception more challenging. Also, if you go into a fertility space and you're highly inflamed and there's all these things going on and they do all of the testing that they do on you there, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, your eggs are bad." But it's like, "Well, no, if you go in ready, having done the work, it's a different conversation." And a diet that is high in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory foods is going to help counteract the effects of inflammation and also protect your eggs. So there's like a lot of foods, and these are ones that are like really common. You've seen them before: berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, protect your eggs from oxidative stress. I mean, I love berries. I eat berries every day. Dark leafy greens, like I said, saute them in fat. You're going to get vitamin A, vitamin C, but if you saute them in fat, you're also going to get, the ability to absorb the vitamin A. Nuts and seeds, citrus fruits, orange, lemons, grapefruits, limes. When it comes to oranges, if you're having a glass of orange juice, that is going to spike your blood sugar. Yes, it's orange juice, even if it's freshly pressed. I love that for you. You still need to be mindful of how you consume it. It's just rare that people have like a cup of lime juice or a cup of lemon juice. So I always make that declaration with orange juice and grapefruit juice as well. Nonetheless, if you eat the fruit itself, they are packed with vitamin C, amazing for your immune health and also reducing inflammation. Bell peppers, they have beta carotene, which again, hormone production. I feel like that is the weaving thread, if you haven't noticed, is that all of this is about hormone production, because when you and your body are making hormones well, balancing hormones well, everything else kind of just happens. But it all starts from the hormone balance. Tomatoes that contain lycopene, and lycopene is really good for egg and sperm quality, but the thing about lycopene and tomatoes is cooking them in fat actually activates the lycopene to have even more effect. So again, warm your food, cook it, saute it. We love that. Avocados, we love an avocado. I also love how when you have an avocado, it literally looks like a pregnant belly. It's beautiful to me. Again, nature is so crazy like that. But avocados, rich in healthy fats, so very anti-inflammatory. And then pomegranates. When I'm recording this, it's almost the holidays and pomegranate season is upon us. And again, we want to be thinking about also blood flow, circulation. All of these things are important when we are trying to get pregnant. We are pregnant and when we're postpartum. And polyphenols, like the ones found in pomegranates, help with blood flow and also support your uterine lining. But there's also a lot of foods that don't get the credit that they deserve. And we're going to talk about them. Olives and olive oil. Now, olive oil to me is a finishing oil because if it ever smokes, like if you cook with it and it starts to smoke or get really hot, then it loses all its healthfulness because now it's gone rancid because you burned it. So olive oil to me is like a finishing oil, a salad dressing oil type of thing. But olives are hydrating. Olives are, and I'm talking about like, a good meaty olive. They're rich in polyphenols. They help reduce inflammation. They're healthy fat. They got fiber in them if you eat the actual olive. Like, I live for an olive. When someone says they like olives, I'm like, oh, we're good. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, all of these are going to be high in omega-3 fatty acids, again, reducing inflammation. Ginger, turmeric, these are like spices that are anti-inflammatory that are, again, going to help with digestion, liver health, hormone balancing, hormone processing. Green tea, my favorite green tea is matcha because matcha has the highest antioxidant content of any green tea, but it's also high fiber because it's the leaf ground up. So it's like you get fiber and you get that high antioxidant and it's good for your gut. It's like so many things. And when you add lemon, so if you're having just steeped tea and you add lemon, you like supercharge the antioxidant content. So even more reduction of inflammation, even more egg health protective. Beets, like I said, with circulation, help a lot, but also with inflammation. Bone broth, to know means to know. I love bone broth. Rich in amino acids. And I'll support your gut health and reduce inflammation. And then coconut oil. Coconut oil has medium chain triglycerides that are really amazing for like energy, but also reducing inflammation. But again, you'll notice that it's like foods on this list, it's like they're higher in fat, like olive oil, fatty fish, coconut oil, bone broth. But it's like we have to now, like, fat is owed like an apology. We must celebrate it. Okay, so the fertility diet in action. So you want to balance your blood sugar and prioritize fats. Taking a prebiotic and a probiotic if you really feel like your gut needs it. Being mindful to check for any bloating, gas, because then it might mean another thing. But also making sure you're eating them, eating food sources, especially of those, because I think there's so many. You want to have your plate balanced with the right macro percentage, remembering that fat is the primary macro to fertility. Consuming bitter greens to really help your liver. Targeted supplementation that's going to fill the gaps. And like I said, is like if there is a food source, absolutely take yourself up on that offer. And then also consuming anti-inflammatory foods. That's kind of the overview of that. Now, when I believe that bone broth is one of the best ways to start the day, you want to eat within an hour of waking. Even if you are not conditioned to that, if it makes you feel nauseous, have a cup of bone broth. That's a beautiful way to start conditioning your body to like, yes, this is what's happening. We eat in the morning now. You can slowly start to add in vegetables and protein, but bone broth is how I would start the day. Now, if you just have the bone broth, this is not a full breakfast. This is just a beautiful start to your day. It's not competing with digestion. All the collagen, glycine, healthy fat is going, just like getting absorbed by the body. But you want to make sure that you have a solid breakfast after bone broth. But if you add vegetables and protein, you can even add some carbs, then that's breakfast. I love that for you. Now you want to focus on full plates that have vegetables, protein, fat, a cooked vegetable and a raw vegetable, and have like all of the important nutrients there for blood sugar balance: protein, vegetables, and some fats. And if you're cooking a lot of your things in fats, you'll meet that mark. Now, I love lots of soups and warm foods just in general. Soup was my favorite module in culinary school, and it was like the first one. I wish to go back a great many times. But lots of soups and warm food. If you go to an acupuncturist or a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, you've probably heard them say, do not get cold. Don't let your feet get cold. Don't let your womb get cold. Don't let your hands get cold, your nose, your head. And you also don't want to encourage coldness from the inside out. And so lots of soups and warm food. Another reason why I love soup, I mean, I could wax poetic about soup forever, but I'll keep it brief. But soup is nutrient dense. If you make it with bone broth and then you add in a lot of, sweet potato, there's zucchini, you add some ground beef, you add some spices, you use onion and garlic to sort of like add some flavor, and you make a soup. That is one of the most nutrient dense bites you could take. If you have that to start your day, like that is how you like have breakfast every day, is like a delicious soup. Just watch your life improve, like report back. Now, carbs are necessary. I love a sweet potato. I love rice or potato. With rice and potato, they have something called resistant starch. When you cook rice and potato and then you cook them and cool them completely, no matter how many times you heat them up from that point, they have then developed something called resistant starch. And that behaves more like a fiber that moves through you undigested versus a carbohydrate. Now, do you still need to eat your carbohydrates last? Yes. But you can have them and then they're not going to have as much of an effect. Now, carbs are necessary, like I said, and like in this picture, this is a high fiber pasta, Catelli Smart, but you want to make sure that you are eating the same volume or more of protein, fat, and vegetables than you are of that carbohydrate. That is what's going to keep your blood sugar balanced. I have people say, well, I don't know why my blood sugar went up. I had a baby cucumber and then I had like carbonara. It's like, well, no, it's a miracle. It's not a miracle, rather. I was like trying to make a joke and it didn't work. Anyways, moving on. Okay, so you want desserts that feature key nutrients because you're going to make the most of wanting to indulge. If you are someone that needs a sweet treat every single night, we need to find a way to maximize that bite. So having something as easy as fresh berries with just coconut cream that you can get with a little bit of honey mixed in. That tastes delicious. It tastes decadent. It's creamy, but you're getting healthy fats from the coconut cream. You are getting fiber from the berries and antioxidants. So starting to look at things that way can really help you start to take advantage of the 80% and actually enjoy yourself. Like I feel like there is a narrative that it has to be punishing and flavorless and you can't go out to eat and you can't do this. And it's like, well, no, it's just about maximizing that 80% so that when you do have a 20%, your body bounces back beautifully and still goes to the place you want it to go to. And to that end, if you treat foods like pizza and ramen with a little bit of TLC, you can actually still enjoy them. So I love ramen. I love it so much that I took this picture. But again, it's like I have my Shin ramen, I use the packet, whatever, but I make sure to have some kale sauteed in greens. I added some steak for protein and fat. And so again, my blood sugar didn't spike from this. And I also got nutrients, I got healthy fats, I got protein, and I still felt like I was having my treat. And I was. So it's like everyone wins. Sometimes it's about doing it better, which allows you to stay the course versus like trying to think about never doing it. Instead, just be like, how do I do it better? Um, if you drink a lot of coffee, that is speaking to an issue. I mean, you can say, I love the flavor of coffee, but if you were to stop doing that, you would be crook. Trust. So I'm never telling someone to quit coffee cold turkey, but switching out coffee for matcha, like I said, very high in antioxidants, high in liver loving antioxidants, so high, has gut loving ingredients, it's high in fiber. It also doesn't have the same cortisol impact on like your like blood sugar, which coffee does. So there's a lot of reasons to love matcha. I certainly do. Um, if you have a coffee in the morning and you absolutely have to have a coffee in the afternoon, switch that out for a matcha. Meet halfway. If you have to have that first sip of coffee, it like it has to touch your lips. Okay, fine. You can keep the coffee, but never before food. It's always breakfast, then coffee. But switching out your afternoon coffee for matcha will start to make you feel better than you knew you could feel. Now, drinks with elixirs and antioxidants will effectively deliver nutrients in your body conveniently. So I'm, not necessarily a person that's like juicing, but I do think that there are situations where you can make elixirs and drinks that can really help you get your into your body, deliver quickly and efficiently a lot of things your body can use. And finding ways to get your fat. I mean, I have olives as snacks. Like they're one of my favorite snacks. Avocado, salmon, making egg yolk pudding. There's so many ways just to like use high density whole food fats and just like find ways to sneak them in. So in your recipe bundle, you're getting a recipe for savory herb bone broth. So this is the sipping broth. This is the broth that you're going to sip on. You're going to warm up in the morning and sip on. You're going to add some vegetables, some protein. This is the one. I love this broth. It's universal. It tastes delicious. Now, there's also this neutral bone broth. The reason that I've included this is because bone broth can be used in sweet preparations. Like if something calls for water and it's like a sweet recipe, use a neutral bone broth because it's just bones and water, chicken bones and water. These are chicken bone broth recipe. And the neutral bone broth literally tastes like nothing. You can put it in a smoothie. I make pancakes with it. I make gummy bears with it. I make hot chocolate with it. Like I do so many different things and you are none the wiser that it's bone broth. The reason that I included that is because for the hangover soup, so don't let the name fool you. It's just what I titled it years ago and it's still that title. But this is a perfect example of a way to use bone broth, but also showing you the nutrient density of soup because there's so many things. There's sweet potato, there's coconut oil, there's ground beef, like there's so many, there's bone broth, there's so many different things. And it it's like an exercise in nutrient density. All of the things are there. And then the bone broth immunity elixir uses the neutral bone broth. And this is a sweet beverage. You can have it warm. You can also have it cold over ice. Delicious. Now, the egg yolk pudding, I really like this because this is a way to eggs, the yolks have all of the fat. So the white is where a lot of the protein exists, but as far as fertility is concerned, we are concerned with the yolk. It has the choline, it has the healthy fats. And so if you are someone that doesn't like egg, but you like pudding, this egg yolk pudding is the way to go because it will help you get the benefits of eggs without feeling like you're eating egg. It'll feel like you're eating pudding. And if you have grandparents that are still alive, they will probably tell you, well, yes, that's how you make pudding because that's how pudding used to be made. And then we have just a delicious matcha. Again, I feel like when it comes to just making healthier choices and choices that are more beneficial to us, having recipes that are delicious just like only stands to help. Now, this turmeric ginger elixir, this can be a shot. You combine all the ingredients in one. This can be a shot. You can also add it to bone broth, and it actually becomes quite nice as well. It's gorgeous. It's lovely. It's perfect for like the 6th season, but all year round for, again, just giving your body a super jolt of these antioxidant ingredients. Now, this is a cucumber kimchi recipe. You can obviously buy your kimchi. I'm not saying you have to make it. That being said, just check the ingredients that didn't use any, like, there's not a lot of like red dye and things like that, because then you don't want that. But I also just thought it was cute to give you a recipe because I made kimchi once and it was actually delicious. The only thing that was nerve-wracking about making kimchi was worrying, like, am I gonna die if I eat this? Because it has to sit on the counter. But I didn't, and I shared that with you here. So then there's the avocado smash with the salmon. Fantastic. You can also do the salmon in a pan if you want. And then also chicken in a cashew cream sauce, utilizing the fat from those nuts and getting protein from the chicken. So again, just showing you what these meals are to look like. I believe in teaching you how to eat and giving you recipes and examples, and then you going and implementing how to eat, because then it doesn't matter what you eat because you know how to eat it. And so understanding fertility and the diet that goes with it goes far beyond supporting just conception. It's about your body. So often the emphasis is placed on the egg, which is so not woman focused, because they will take the best egg and put it into a woman's body who's just not ready to receive it. But when you consider a fertility diet and a fertility lifestyle, it nurtures your entire body, because it helps you balance your hormones. It gives you resilient immunity, and this makes you just a vibrant human being. So when you are in process and in path to pregnancy and baby and postpartum, you feel good in that journey, because how you feel now and how you get there is what's going to dictate how it goes, and also your postpartum. This is setting you up for truly a lifetime of skills of knowing just like how to eat. I truly believe that belief is a powerful part of this journey. Trusting that your body can prepare itself, and trusting that the things that we talked about and the things that you're going to do are actually working, means that you've overcome a really significant step, because a lot of people have a hard time with that. And so I hope you feel inspired. I'm so honored to be your guide on this journey, truly. You know, no one loves a pregnant belly, a baby, a pregnancy announcement, news of a super high egg retrieval number. Like, I love all of those things. And if I can help you get there, it's a joy for me. Thank you so much.